Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos. And if you're here for a second, third, or fourth time, thank you so much for coming back and getting creative. Alright guys, this is another fun painting today, so grab your supplies, transfer your traceable to your surface, and as always, take your progress photos. Now on mine, I did go over mine with a Sharpie marker for those of you at home that are going to pause the video and draw what you see. If you utilize the traceable, you do not have to go over it with the black lines, jump right into painting. And here I'm demonstrating a few different brush strokes to try. We're going to start out with a light blue and the large flat brush. And the light blue is white with a little bit of blue. And if yours happens to be a little lighter or darker than mine, that's okay. In this particular background, compared to some of my other paintings, I actually do quite a bit of blending, and there's a few things I didn't like, so I kind of actually almost overworked the background. And I left it so that way those of you at home can just kind of see some of the things that I go through, the different options as I'm applying paint. So if you paint your backgrounds and then end up adding a lot and going back and adding more, just know that that is part of the process, part of the kind of creative struggle that each person goes through. And no matter how long you've been painting, we always have different challenges at different places. So again, here I'm filling in that background with that solid, with that light blue. And if you happen to have a stretched canvas, I do recommend carrying this color around the edges of your canvas. So here we're actually going to start introducing other colors into our wet background. And I am jumping down to that medium flat brush just for a little bit more control, and went with a close, not quite a medium blue, but just a few shades darker than what I was using, and placing in a few areas that I like, and then just going back and kind of blending that into the base. And that's pretty much the concept of wet on wet blending. And it's really a lot of fun to just kind of get lost and play with the gradations and the blending of the paint. So here, again, just kind of adding a bunch of colors. You're going to witness how many different colors, different shades of blue and teal that I add to this to get it to where I like. So here, going in with more of the direct blue, placing it in a few areas, a little bit of teal. Again, any colors that you may want to add to yours. So I've slapped those in a few places. This will demonstrate a bit more of that wet on wet blending. And you're also going to notice that a little bit of pigment goes a long way as you're doing some of your blending. So the more that you paint, the more you'll get kind of comfortable with the amount of pigment and just kind of blending your colors. And if at any point you kind of like your background, it is okay to stop, forward to the next part of the video, or just kind of watch and enjoy the fact that I basically overwork my background, but get it to a pretty good spot. So here adding a little bit more teal and just again playing with them. You can go back and add white, you can add your blue, you can add your darker colors, you can even throw some purple in there. And I realized as I was doing this, the fins on this goldfish are going to be kind of light, so I did want a darker contrast, and that's why I kind of played with this more and added more of the darker colors around the fins. Again, completely optional, and your background does not have to look like mine. Especially if you happen to have thinner paint that dries faster, you might not be able to do everything that I do in this background. So adjust for what you need based on the paint that you have. I am using student grade paint here, but it dries. I've got a working time of about 20 minutes with this paint, 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so just again, playing around with it. If you're inclined to finger paint to kind of play with those shades, go right ahead. I do recommend getting out of your chair, looking at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away. That is the normal viewing distance for artwork and most things in life. So learning to look at your artwork from that perspective while you're painting it will help your progress. All right, and I think at this point my paint was starting to get kind of dry. So go again, like I said, just kind of overworking it a little more than I probably should have. But that's part of life. That's where I was for that day when I was painting this cute goldfish. All right, doing good. So it'll come up in a moment where we'll pause the video and take a progress photo. And I did let this dry just since I'm going in with a lighter color with some yellows and shades of orange. So still using that medium flat brush, white with a little bit of yellow, and it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're going to be filling in the tail feathers, the tail fins, the other fins on this fancy goldfish. And I am making sure that I go over those black Sharpie marker lines that I put on the beginning. If you utilize just the traceable, just make sure you go over your lines and that they're covered. But if you don't, no big deal. All right, and if you have to mix that lemony yellow color a second or third time and maybe it's a little lighter or darker on the second time, that's okay. Because I'm using student grade paint, it is on the transparent side, so this goldfish is actually going to get 2 layers of color. Kind of the same colors, but we're going to stick with this yellow and the kind of orangey color. And by doing that, that helps build opacity since this is kind of thin paint, and it helps just make it look a little bit better, and you can do some blending and shading. So we did move into that direct yellow paint to fill in the body of the goldfish. Again, because I use the Sharpie markers, I can still see some of the lines through it for where the mouth and the eyes are. Now we added a tiny amount of red to our yellow, and it makes kind of a light orange. We will be going darker. So again, if yours is a little bit darker than this, that's okay. I do want to practice a little bit of the blending that we're going to get into and the shading right now. And then, like I said, duplicate it on the second layer. And again, as you do this, a tiny amount of pigment goes a long way to make this light orange. And then to make it a little bit darker, you'll add just a little bit more red. If you actually have orange paint and prefer to use that, go right ahead. I like to keep this one as kind of primary colors with the addition of the teal and the black. But using red, yellow, and white, you can really paint just about anything. Or red, yellow, and blue, pardon me, for my primary colors. So now making a bit darker orange, adding a little more red to that mixture. My paint is still pretty wet, so you can kind of see that I'm holding that brush at a 45-degree angle to apply it. And then I am letting this dry. Take your progress photo, let it dry, and we're going to do a second layer on here, starting again with that yellow and adding our colors right on top of it. I had a little hesitation moment there. Sorry about that. But again, just putting our yellow, notice how much better it looks. We're going right over the shading. We're going to recreate that and really kind of give this cute little goldfish some nice pop colors on there. As with any of my paintings, you are more than welcome to switch out colors and do a different color goldfish, different color background, whatever you are inclined to do. So now going in with that orange mixture again, yellow with a tiny amount of red, and kind of applying it similar to where we applied it before. We'll go in a few new areas and then we'll go in with a darker orange. Again, you are strengthening your power of observation as you follow the video and do anything creative that has some step-by-step instructions. And that's a kind of a core foundational art skill, is just learning to look at what you see and translate it into your creative efforts. And now with that darker orange, because the paint is wet, you can see that I'm doing a bit of a tapping method or almost little dots because it is mixing with that yellow underneath and it's diffusing that orange to be a little bit lighter. So if you get to the point to where maybe you apply something on the canvas and you go, oh, it needs to be darker, go ahead and adjust to make it darker. Now we're going in with some white, and the belly of this goldfish is a little bit lighter. My yellow paint is still wet, so this white is not staying pure white. It is mixing a little bit with that yellow underneath. All right, oh, and I've been talking a while. If you have not taken a deep breath, go ahead, breathe, exhale. You're doing much better than you're probably giving yourself credit for. So now using that pointy brush and just kind of doing little dots of white in these areas. Again, because it's wet, it is changing the color of the white. It's not staying the pure white on there. And if you need to, you can see that I put my pinky out to kind of steady my hand. I am resting my forearm against the edge of the table. Adjust for what you need while you're painting. And adding a bit more red to our orange for where his mouth is open, going a little bit darker in there. There we go, adding a bit more red. Again, feel free to adjust your conditions for painting change each time that you paint, and you do have to adjust to where you're at for that day. All right, so pause that video, take a progress photo, and then we're going to jump right into adding that pure white on top of the light lemony yellow. And this was one of the reasons why I played with the background so much, is I did want a darker color next to this lighter colors on the fins. So again, getting that second layer on there, because the white is kind of transparent, a little bit of that yellow from underneath is showing through. And then I left space for that front fin, or I guess the side fin, that's on top of the back tail fin. So that way there's a little bit of distinction. We will be doing the same thing that we did on the body of the goldfish and adding some light orange colors into the tail to give some definition. There we go. So grabbing that yellow orange with the pointy brush. Again, just observe where I'm placing this. Also observe the direction of the brush strokes. For the tail feather, I keep calling them feathers, for the tail fins, kind of moving in the direction that the fin is moving or going, will help just kind of create that movement. Same thing with the darker orange that we just added. If you're finding that your brush is kind of shaky, especially as you go to do these smaller sections, exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, and that will help your process. All right, so just finishing in a little bit of the shadows. And then we're going to keep moving along from one fin to the next. So going back, grabbing that light lemony yellow for that front, that side fin. And we'll do a little bit of shading. He didn't get his first layer on there. I didn't want it to get lost in the tail feather. And then back to that yellow-orange mixture, kind of making some of these longer brush strokes, kind of where the fins are meeting the body and also on the bottom of the fin. Again, this kind of gives the indication of where our light is coming from as we paint. And as you paint, you're a magician. You're creating this illusion of a 3D goldfish on a flat 2D surface. And by doing a dark, medium, and light shade, that's how we create that, that volume, that depth. All right, so now going in with that white, we've got the top fins to get in there. All right. You guys are doing a great job. This is turning out to be a super cute goldfish. Make sure you name him. He does need a name. And hopefully he gets to hang out in your house for quite a long time. All right, so kind of just going back in with a few of the darker oranges with this pointy brush, intensifying a few of the shadows. And then this is going to get us into a good spot to take our progress photo, fully let this dry before you move into the next step. And this is optional. If you do not want to do an outline, you don't have to. I kind of like doing this for my beginner painters just because it helps kind of solidify the composition, cleans up the subject matter a little bit, and just helps get a little bit more personality and detail on there. So we are basically mimicking that traceable image. And I want you to play with the pressure of your brush. I am using the pointy brush. And to get some of these finer, skinnier lines, you want to treat it like a pencil and use just the tip of the brush. If you use a little bit more pressure, it will give you a bit of a wider line. And if you're a first-time or beginner painter, if you've got some varying width in your line, that's okay. Your muscles are learning a lot as you hold the brush and do this. And the next time that you go to paint and hold the brush, it's going to make even more sense. So painting is more about kind of building your skills and doing a little bit better than the last time that you painted compared to painting better than the friend that's painting with you or somebody else's painting. It is best not to compare to other people when you are doing your painting. Creativity is a very individualized and personal process, and I consider painting kind of like handwriting. Everybody has their own style, and the sooner you can embrace your own style, the happier you'll be with your own progress. Also take notice how often I am grabbing paint. Kind of finish a brush stroke, grab more black paint, go back and do another one. You do want to make sure that this is kind of a nice consistent application. If you find this super, super frustrating and you don't want to use the brush, you can let it fully dry and you can go over this with a Sharpie marker, and that gives you a little bit more control. There are always more than one way to get to the result. But again, really proud of you guys for pushing your level, pushing your comfort zone, painting at home, trying new things. This is really what life's about, enjoying yourself, enjoying your life, and having creative outlets. At least my world is. All right, so we're going to put a few of the lines in for the fins. Again, completely optional. Play with that pressure. If you need to turn the canvas sideways or upside down or set it on your lap, go right ahead and adjust for what you need. After we are done with this, I will recommend that you let it dry, and then we'll put some white highlights on at the very end. Doing great. So I'm very encouraged. If you have subject matter you'd like me to paint in the future, leave a comment. I do my best to get to everything as quickly as possible. But I do appreciate your guys' feedback and suggestions as I run out of subject matters of what you guys want painted. So let me know. And I do try to respond to all the comments and emails that you guys send me. Keeps me pretty happy. I'm really grateful to be doing what I'm doing. All right, so we're almost to the point where, again, you can let it dry, and we're going to use white next. I'm actually going right in. I'm not letting it dry, so you can do both. And we're going to put a little catch light in for the eyes, and feel free to pause the video and just kind of notice where it's at. And then we're putting a few other highlights. And again, with this highlight, it just kind of gives an indication to tell the brain where the light source is coming from on this painting. And if you want, you're more than welcome to go back into the oranges. If you want a super fancy goldfish and throw some other colors in there, go right ahead and do that. So again, I'm super proud of you guys for painting at home and following along and even just hanging out with me for a little bit. Makes hopefully for a good painting session. All right, so until next time, cheers.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the process of painting and I hope you are happy with how your paintings turned out. I'm really proud of you for getting creative. As you're uploading these to social media, please tag me at or hashtag paintwithlovejoy or email me your pictures paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. I really enjoy seeing them. I try to post them on social media to encourage other beginner painters to try the process of painting. But please share this with your community as well. Anybody who is kind of scared to paint, share your experience with them and let them know kind of how much you benefited from it and how much you enjoyed the process. So kind of share the fun. With that being said, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, things that you want me to paint in the future, please leave a comment. I try to respond to everybody as quickly as I can. And any of the future suggestions for paintings, I add that to my production list and get to them as quickly as I can. So in the meantime, please keep getting creative. Let me know how you're doing. And until next time, cheers.